You are the proof that it is possible now.
Exactly.
Our viewers
Absolutely.
can see a living master of wine. So
Living
it's not
master
just
of wine.
not just a myth.
And a good tip for everybody who's going for master of wine tasting one day. So if you're practicing, I think it's important to know.
And it's easier for your brain to understand and save that information.
Yeah. Now you just need to build your bank. So that.
Every single morning for how long?
A couple of years. Yeah. So. The exam is not about being James Bond, like spotting, okay, this is Dom Perignon 96 from a Magnum bottle. People want to buy dry, but then they want to drink medium dry. I don't know if you, but so now it's wine-based drink.
Well, congratulations for your invention. I think it's fascinating in 3 ways. That
you should be able to influence the industry, and you should be able to share the knowledge and educate people. And
hello everybody, this is the Czapp podcast. Today our guest is Tuomas Meriluoto. He's the Master of Wine, which is the highest title in the wine world. Just for context, there are more people who have been into space than the number of Master of Wines on our planet. So you should... he is also the founder and CEO of Wine State Group in Finland. He's the chairman of the Association of Finnish Alcoholic Beverage Suppliers. And he is also a lecturer. He was featured in a number of TV series, wine books, and magazines. Welcome, Tuomas.
Thank you. Sounds amazing and good to be here. Very nice.
I'm very glad that we can do this again. Actually, this is our second time that we do this podcast. The first time we had some technical difficulties, but it was a good talk. So I'm happy that the first one didn't really came out because of the technical difficulties. Because we can do this again, and hopefully we are going to do this even more in the future. How are you? What are you up to? You've been traveling a lot in the.
I've been traveling quite a bit. Yeah, lately it's I'm fine. It's winter coming to Finland, so it's quite nice. I enjoy it, but I've been on the road quite a bit. So I've been to Spain, to Germany, to Sweden, our neighboring country, where we also do some business. And then I was in Chile as well for in October for a week.
Any great wine experiences?
Oh yes, especially I was in Germany, so I visited some wineries in Mosel, Pfalz, and Rheingau, and even Rheinhessen. So that was a nice trip because we got to taste some of the best Rieslings of Germany. So I was happy. One of my favorite grapes.
Yeah, actually. And one of your special grapes, we are going to talk about pink Riesling as well, which is a very interesting story. But I think we should start at the beginning so our viewers can really understand this Master of Wine thing, because it's such a magical and mysterious title, and not a lot of people understand how does it work, what is the system, how can you become a Master of Wine. So can you tell us first, what is a Master of Wine? What does it mean?
Oh, well, a difficult question. But anyway, Master of Wine, well, I think it's the highest education level you can get in the wine industry. Well, I think Master Sommelier somehow is a matching level, but that's more on the serving and restaurant work side, whereas Master of Wine is a very wide education. So you will need to study growing of wine, so viticulture, wine making, and then business of wine, and of course then you also need to show a very high level of general understanding of different wine styles, and then it's also a lot about tasting wines. So it's a high level study, and it's probably considered impossible, but I would say it's very much doable, and it's just maybe a more depth method than people in wine business are used to studying. So it just requires a lot lot of work, and you can do it.
You are the proof that it is possible. Now
exactly.
Our viewers
Absolutely.
can see a living master of wine. So
living master of wine,
not just a myth. How did you become a master of wine? How did you decide to do this, and how did you get into the wine industry as well?
Yeah, I think it actually, the way I found myself to the industry probably helped me then finally with the study, because I come from a sales and marketing background. So I was at very young age, when I turned 19, I already joined a company who was selling wine to restaurants. I didn't know much about wine at the time, but I figured out that when I know more about wine, I'm able to help my clients to sell the wine, and thus that motivated me to study and get to know wine a little better. And there was not that much wine knowledge in Finland at the time. That was late 90s. So then I started gradually studying and reading about wine. Then sometime early 2000, the Wines and Spirit Education Trust, which is an institute based in UK, they started to offer some level of wine education in our country, in Finland. So I joined amongst a couple of other people as the first Finns to start studying the Wines and Spirit Education Trust. So we studied all the levels of the Wines and Spirit Education Trust until I think 2003 it might have been, and then of course always when studying and reading about wine, I read about these mythical people, Jancis Robinson, master of wine. I was like, okay, that's amazing that somebody can have such a title and be such a knowledgeable person. So we always joked amongst the friends that yeah, one day we will go and study to become a master of wine. And then when we graduated from the diploma, which is the highest level in the Wines and Spirit Education Trust, then we were like, I don't know how we felt, empty. There's nothing more to study in Finland. What can we do? And then I think it was a kind of a joke that, okay, well, let's apply to the Master of Wine program. And of course, at the time I was already, I worked since 96 in the wine industry, and that was maybe 2002 or 2003. So I had quite a good experience already from the industry, and I had traveled the world already. So I knew a lot of vineyards and wine producing countries and wine regions. So I had a good base knowledge. And my colleague was, for example, the buyer of a big ferry company, so she was also very knowledgeable about wine. So because that was required, if you want to apply to the Master of Wine, it's not only that you need to have achieved the Wines and Spirit Education Trust diploma, but you need to send an application where you need to explain your experience, travel history, show knowledge, and I think you need to nowadays also write a couple of essays and make a tasting with your application to get in. So they really carefully select and consider the people that are applying. And I know some people that are frustrated because they have a sommelier background and they've been working in the industry for a long time, and they are not accepted to the school. So it already required that. But then we were invited, we were told that, okay, you are approved to join the study, and then we started. And when I refer that maybe it helped me that I have a background in sales and marketing more than, I'm not a wine geek. I'm even not today, I'm not a wine geek. I'm very much in like thinking what would the consumer want to drink. So that I think that approach helped me, because when I'm not a wine geek, I'm not in love with one region. I'm fanatic about Piemonte, or I'm fanatic about Burgundy. I'm very open-minded, so it was easier for me to study, because I didn't have any like a natural leaning always towards one country or one region. And then I think the second benefit is that when I'm living in a non-producing country, and actually monopoly country, so we have all the wines of the world are available in our country. So if you study in France, you only are exposed to French wines. So here we are exposed to all the wines equally from different countries, and the monopolies actually have fantastic wine selection. So we had access to all possible wine styles needed to learn. So I think those two factors really helped me when I'm looking now backwards, that why did I manage, or how did I succeed, was that no preconception or no favorite countries, not a wine geek, but more like just willing to learn, wide open-minded, and then the availability of different quality of wines and information in the market. So I think that was the short introduction how I got in.
Very interesting that people would think that being in a country which is not a wine producing country, and maybe at that time even the wine consumption wasn't that high. Now I think it gets higher and higher by the years, but at that moment the wine culture in Finland was a little bit not that implemented.
Absolutely.
And it's very interesting that this was your benefit, because you started with a clean slate and everything. And I think also a very important point, and a very nice setup, that you started with your partners, friends. So it wasn't just alone, but you had this this community. And how many Master of Wines are from Finland right now? Because I think
we are 5. Yeah, we have 5 in Finland. Yeah.
And are you all from the same time? Did you? Is this the same group that you joined, or some of them are from the later periods?
Yeah. So actually, the first one to graduate was Essi Avellan, who specialized in champagne, and then a very famous champagne expert, one of the leading in the world. So she was the first, and I was the second. And then the third, other persons have joined later later in the time. So I think I graduated finally in 2009. So I actually struggled with the final work, because the dissertation, which is like a research that you need to do. So I took 3 years to finalize my dissertation. So but I graduated all the examination already in 2007. So and then I think Essi graduated 1 year before me, so that was at the time.
I see. That's very interesting. I think most of the people who are trying to understand the Master of Wine, everybody is scared by the technical and the tasting part of the examination. And it's interesting that you mentioned that the essay part was the hardest for you. Can you explain the process of the testings and the education for Master of Wine? How can a person become Master of Wine? What is the...
Yeah, I will try in brief, but also because I'm not fully updated if something has changed now in the examination. But anyway, I think basically in a Master of Wine you study by yourself. So you don't get packet of books and read these and then you come to the exam. So basically you're expected to know everything about everything, and there are no sources given to you. So basically at the time there was maybe less information on internet, but anyway internet existed already, but you would need to learn by visiting the wine regions, meet the winemakers, go to the wine fairs, talk to the producers, understand. And then you need to visit the regions, understand what is the typicity of different regions, what are the soils like, what are the climates like. So you need to really build a bank of information to your head, and the source is the whole world. So everything available is worth studying, and that makes it a little bit difficult, because then it's really hard to be structured. But I'm quite structured person, so I build these mind maps that I will study this next 2 months viticulture, and then you write down everything that is related to viticulture. Okay, it's the soils, it's the climates, it's the root stocks, or it's the
I'm sorry. In this part, do you go into like very specific details, like the treatments of wines, wine disease, everything that you need for absolutely okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But with the mind map, what I did is that then I write, okay, what I need to know about viticulture, and then you list, okay, soils, rootstocks, climates, age of the wines, whatever, and then you start, okay, soils, what is there in the soils? Then there are the different soil types, then there are the different rootstock suited for different soil types, and then there are the humidity or fauna and flora, and then you pick this smallest topic, and then you start getting information from different books and internet and people on that specific topics, and then tomorrow another topic, soil types, or third day rootstocks and whatever. So you don't read one book from cover to cover which talks about a lot of different issues, but I found it really helpful to choose a specific topics and then find what this book says about rootstock, what this book and what this winemaker says to me about rootstock, what is so in a way you build your own database of different kind of knowledge. And then of course the mind map is very big because there are so many topics. There are like winds or how the wines are pruned, or so, and every topic at least deserves a couple of days to dive in, and of course then you need to put everything to your head. Anyway, that's the whole during the education. That's how you study. Then there are some study weeks. You go to Bordeaux for 1 week, and you have lectures of different viticulturists, winemakers, a lot of tastings, of course.
Is this organized by the Master of Wines system?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have some study weeks in UK, some study weeks in some wine regions. I don't know, 2 or 3 times a year you have these study weeks, and then already on those study weeks you have your training to write the essays, because that's in the final exam you're given just the subjects and you need to write essays, and there it's timed, so you have I think 1 hour or 2 hours per essay, and you're expected to have certain length, and also when there is a question then about what is the relation between different soil types and rootstocks. So then you're giving this subject, and then you need to really put all your knowledge into paper in 1 or 2 hours. So you have to somehow build a really good paper that discuss about different soil types and discuss different rootstocks, and then how are they related, and then you are also expected to make it somewhat interesting reading, so that you're like, okay, against on so it's not only listing stuff, but you need to make it from beginning to end like a nice article, and I think that is something that you are trained during the process. You're practicing your essays. There are essay seminars, you write essays, and then somebody corrects and gives you feedback. And then you are normally given a mentor who you can send your training essays. So basically this, like you constantly get more information and read and study, and then you try to understand how do I use this information to formulate these papers. So in a way you have to digest everything you receive, and then you need to filter it to a nice paper. So that is the theory.
That's very interesting that they also take this very seriously, to be able not just to have the knowledge, but to be able to present it in a way that it is very easy to process. And it's like they are also testing you in education how to teach this, which is I think absolutely a very interesting strategy. You can't really see this in many education systems, but I think it's quite logical, because I'm not sure what are they expecting from a master of wine, but I would imagine that you are the people in the wine world that are like I'm not trying to sound very mythical about it, but that are sharing the knowledge and should teach the people and introduce people into the wine world. So I think it's interesting but understandable that they are doing this in this specific way.
Yeah, I think it's what they are saying, that in until the wines and spirit education trust diploma level, you need to be very systematic and follow the rules, and you need to answer the specific questions. But then what Master of Wine is expected is that you need to be in a position that you are forming opinions, you are leading the industry, you should be able to influence the industry, and you should be able to share the knowledge and educate people and talk, make wine more interesting and appealing to wide audience. So it's not about just being knowledgeable, it's about being understanding and also even sharing understanding and forming opinions. Exactly. So I think that is the reason why they're doing it. For me, that was really hard because I don't have academic background, and I had to do all of this in English. So that was a good learning curve also regarding language and presenting and writing and everything, because I was also, so meantime when trying to figure how to use all this information, I had to learn how to write really good English, for example. So it helped me not only become knowledgeable in wine, but it helped me to, in a way, get academic research or academic education on that level. Then then back to your question about the process. So during the study there is a mid exam, so it's called first year exam. So when you feel you're ready in the Master of Wine studies, you can participate on the first year exam. You don't need to do it after first year, but it's called the first year exam, because there are like you're in the first year or second year. And again, have to remind that some people study it for 10 years. So you might be 4 years on the first year and then 6 years on the second year. But anyway, you can, when you feel you're ready, then you can take your first year exam, which is a 1 day. It's a shorter exam. There's a 1 tasting and 1 paper to do. And then if they see that, okay, the writing abilities is on a level that it's okay regarding the essays, and the tasting is doing well, then when you're approved from the first year, then you become a second year student. So then you are, in a way, then from that on you will be focusing on sitting the final exam, the second year exam, and nothing really changes, in my opinion, in the studying. It's still preparing for the essay writing and still preparing for the tasting. But the tasting part is that's probably the most mythical, or that you always get a lot of questions, and it is really hard, because in the final day, in the final exam, you will have, I think, 3 tastings of 12 wines, and it's like 2 hours 10 minutes time for 12 wines. So it's 10 minutes more or less, a bit more, like 12 minutes per wine. And the first day is white wines, second day is red wines, and then the third day is mixed table. So it can be champagnes or old wines or 40 white wines or different vintages or whatever. So there are, that can be whatever. And in the tasting, the wines are, you have to assess every wine as an individual product. So you will have to explain where the tasting note of the wine. So how is it made? Where is it coming? What is the quality, drinkability, whatever. So you need to really know the wines, but then you are also given questions like, okay, the first 3 wines are made from a different grape variety, but they come from the same producing country, but different wine regions. Based on your tasting notes, please discuss which is the country of origin and which are the grape varieties and from which regions they are coming. So you need to know the individual wines, but then you also need to show understanding what is grown, which countries and which regions, and what grape varieties are there. For example, let's say you could talk about Germany, and then you could have Grauburgunder, Weissburgunder, and Riesling from all three different regions. So you need to show understanding. Okay, I know different Weissburgunders. I know Grauburgunders and I know Rieslings. So Pinot Blanc, Pinot Grigio, and Riesling. And then you need to know which regions they are planted in Germany, and then you need to show that, okay, this Grauburgunder clearly comes from Pfalz because it has these qualities. And so this is how you also show that you really know the wines. And only way to get that knowledge, of course, is tasting amazing amount of wine. So it's like you need to, and this is where when I'm saying that it's important that you have good access to a lot of different wines at your market, because otherwise you're screwed. Because if you cannot have access to different wines from different regions of Germany, how could you do that ever? So that's exactly. So you need to taste a lot, and you need to have a good bank of different wines in your head. For example, the last 2 years when I was studying, I was every morning before going to work, I had like wines in my one of the rooms in my home, and my wife organized 6 bottles, poured them to glasses, and stickered them in bottom that, okay, because I had pre-made a lot of sets, and she opened one, didn't tell me which set she opened, pour it in the glasses, and off she goes to work. And I was there with 6 glasses in front of me, trying to taste and practice for the exam. So this was my approach, like, okay, I need to know the wines, and I need to be confident tasting blind, and it's a if you haven't, or if somebody hasn't tasted wines widely in blind, I think that's something people should do, because then because your head is completely empty. Where could this come from, or what could this be? And then you really start. You need to open a conversation with the glass, really to understand what is in there and what it's telling me, and what is the acidity, what are the aromas I'm getting. Is it cool climate, warm climate? What color is this taste profile? Is it more green or more yellow? So you really need to start getting it. And a good tip for everybody who's going for Master of Wine tasting one day. So if you're practicing, I think it's important to know, like a banker wines, I call them, or have some dry tasting notes. So because in the tasting you need time. There will be some wines that are really difficult to get, like, what is this? It doesn't, I'm not familiar, or it's not talking to me. You need time with some of the wines. So you need to save time with some of the wines. So if you have wines that are very obvious, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc or Rioja Crianza or whatever, everybody have their different wines that they are really familiar with. But when you face the wine you really know, you shouldn't spend too much time like talking with it, that what is it, does it have maybe gooseberry, or is this nettles or passion fruit? If you recognize, oh, this is Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, New Zealand, you put the glass back and off you write your tasting note, or whatever is asked about this wine, because then you will have double the time with the more difficult one. So I also did a lot of this, that I try to have more or less 100 wines or whatever in my head, that I really know what to write when there is a Rioja Crianza, or maybe there is Alvarinho or whatever. So it needs to come fast from your head. But also that helped me after in my life after the exam, because then when you are going to tastings, or we are touring in a wine fair or visiting wineries, I'm not making notes of all the wines like people expect, that, okay, color, nose, palette. I'm more like, okay, if let's say that New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, for example. So if I have a picture of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc in my head, and then if I taste the wine from New Zealand and Sauvignon Blanc, then I might just put a note how it differs from the picture. So I just like, okay, this is more citrusy, or this is extremely herbal New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, or this is mineral, this has really nice minerality, maybe a bit higher acidity as well. So in a way you write how it differs from the standard in your brain.
Exactly.
And that's also faster, and that also it's much more clear to me. Then I know, okay, that was the style, or this is what I meant.
So, wow, I never heard this idea. It's so simple, but so logical. This makes total sense. It's easier to communicate the wine, and it's easier for your brain to understand and save that information. You just know that this was the Sauvignon Blanc, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, that was like this, different. Wow, this is
absolutely now you just need to build your bank. So
you can only do this if you have the knowledge, the lexicon inside your brain, knowing all the regions, everything.
Absolutely.
But after you have that, then this is amazing idea. I have so many questions with the tasting. So you did the tasting 6 wines that your wife prepared every single morning for how long?
Oh, a couple of years, yeah. So
wow. Okay, but, here I have I have a technical question here. How did you do this to have? So you had like hundreds of opened bottles, or how did you do it to be prepared for these tastings every single day?
No, I worked already at the importer, so I got some wines, of course, from my work, and then I bought some wines, and I may have in my home always like maybe 10 cases of 6 bottles, which I already organized. That there was case of 6 Rieslings, there was case of 6 wines from Alsace, different grape varieties. There was maybe case of 6 different Cabernet Sauvignons from all over the world, or there was maybe a case of 3 Sauvignon Blancs from New Zealand and 3 different red wines from Oregon or Washington State. So there was these cases, and then I had the case just numbered, and then I knew that okay, what cases there were, and then my wife took one of the cases without knowing, and then look at okay, there are bottles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. She poured 6 glasses for me, and then put the case back to the room, which I didn't go. So then when I went to our working or office room, then I only had there 6 glasses, which I didn't know. And then I practiced the essay, taste the wines, write my notes, not as depth as in the exam, but I tried to understand each wine and make notes for myself and try to figure out what was on the table. And then when I was ready, then I go and look what was the case and what were the wines, and if I was close or if I was completely wrong, and then I even tasted the wines again. So this is how you build, and I think it's more important than every time learning this is Sauvignon Blanc or this is Riesling from Mosel or whatever. It's to become confident facing wines which you don't know what they are, because I think if even a wine professional is taken to a side and said that okay, here you have 3 wines, and maybe everybody has been in a blind tasting, here you have 3 wines, can you tell me what they are? I think already the pressure and the question and the feeling that I'm alone here with this liquid, please talk to me, is so scary or so difficult that if that is not something you are used to, you're panicking in the taste, in the examination, because sometimes you will have those days or those mornings that okay, you have six glasses or 12 glasses in front of you and they say nothing. It's like, wow, okay, I'm lost there. Is it Pinot Noir or Syrah? It's like you're just locked. And sometimes, and this is why you need to be like relaxed doing it. You need to open your mind and go with the glass, and okay. And there are a lot of different methods I always used and still use if faced in this kind of situation. You close your eyes and then you think, okay, where we are, is it fruity, spicy? What direction should I go? And if it's a fruity wine, then you imagine yourself to a supermarket or a marketplace in middle of all these fruits, and you think that okay, which direction am I going? is it more green or yellow aromas? Is this lychee or rose petals, or what is there? So you need to really become relaxed and open your mind, and a lot of people even have difficulties in when you have glass in front of you. I think you've experienced that. You give a glass to your friend and ask, okay, what is in there in your opinion? And they said, I have this very familiar smell, but I cannot put it in words. What is it?
Exactly.
Is it? So everybody has that, and this is what you need to you need to go beyond that. You need to find a way to reorganize your thoughts. That okay, it's orange, or is it apples, and what color of apples? So you I think it, instead of, I think tasting is not a gift. It's something that you can learn. You need to use your imagination, you need to use your senses, and you need to connect your imagination with your senses, so that, because in none of the glasses there is no apple, so it's just
exactly.
It's a aroma that is reminding you apples, and you need to find it. Okay, what aroma reminds me of apples, and then what it tells me. So you need to do this, like organize this puzzle in your head.
Very interesting. Do you have like a systematic approach? So what I mean is, when you get a blind tasting wine, do you think in a way that, okay, by the color it cannot be this, so you are like closing out ideas when you smell it? Is it like very strategical and logical, or you just go with the flow and you try to talk to the wine and understand what it offers?
Yeah, absolutely. Really good question. I think it's really closing out what it can be. Well, of course, first you need to understand the product. Whatever is there, you need to figure out how is it made, what it is. But of course, then eventually you should come to some sort of conclusion. Then where it comes, or you need to nail it. Okay, this is Tempranillo from Rioja, maybe Crianza or Young Reserva. But this is your closing there. So what is the color telling me? Is it thick-skinned, or is it like thick-skinned or light grape, or whatever is it? What is it telling about the climate? If it's lightly colored wine, it's a light grape, but it's maybe also from a cool climate. So it cannot be this, it cannot be that. Where are we regards? Okay, so then when you know the climate and the grape, then you can already think, okay, well, maybe you have three options. This comes from Oregon or Pfalz, or maybe from New Zealand, stylistically, or whatever. And then you have to start, okay, the quality level, the style of winemaking. So you need to know, okay, well, if this would be Pfalz, this would be more austere, or more this. So this is, but it's more acidity. So maybe it's more Oregon or New Zealand. So it's more New World style. It's more fresher fruit style. The quality is really high. Somebody put really huge effort here. There is a nice aroma of oak as well, and it's very balanced. This maybe takes me to Oregon, where in a way, you try to figure out cool climate, warm climate, what grape could it be, what are my options. Then the style of the wine is telling you about the winemaking, and maybe also styles, if it's more traditional or modern style, more innovative or more historical. And then when you understand, okay, which price levels and which winemaking styles are produced in different part of the world, then that gives you some hints. And you don't always need to be right. The exam is not about being James Bond, like spotting, okay, this is Dom Perignon 96 from a Magnum bottle. It's about being that your arguments are correct, and your justification is good. You might have a wrong conclusion, but as long as your thinking process is solid and it makes sense and it's in line with what is in the glass, you will score a lot of the points. And I think you may even pass the exam without knowing exactly any of the wines. But then, of course, you need to have very good arguments for every product. Otherwise,
interesting. This was a surprise for me when you told me last time. I just found this out. And I think everybody everybody thinks that at the exam you have to nail down the exact the wine, the vintage, the everything. But this is interesting, but makes sense that you recognized everything about the wine. You described it, and your description and reasoning is correct. Then it's not so important to nail down the exact wine, because if it is so similar at the technicalities to another one, then that's enough. What do they expect from you? If you can, do you have to name the exact location, even the sub-region, even the winery, or what are the expectations?
Yeah, you should go as close to the final as possible. So if you can name the producer, it will be perfect. So but you at least you should put the region and even sub-region, depending on the area, of course. If you're in New Zealand, Marlborough will be probably completely enough. But if you're saying it's from Bordeaux, it's not enough. You need to be in the village. So and then I think you should at least try to put it. Okay, maybe this is I don't know, if you have a region, and then you should maybe try to sell. Okay, I think this could be. I don't know, Dr. Lawson from Mosel, because this quality is super high. The wines have a pungent acidity, and this tells me that this could be Henderson or Vineyard for this and this region. So if you get, I think it will be perfectly enough to be in Mosel. But then if you can name that maybe the quality is suggest that this could be from, maybe you can mention few producers. So you should always go as close to the final bottle as possible. But I was just about to say regarding the tasting that I don't know, but I assume that today, this was 2006 when I graduated or passed the tasting exam. I think today, 17 years later, I think the wine styles have evolved since. There is so much more knowledge about winemaking than 20 years ago. So I think the great wines in this world have become closer to each other quality-wise. So I think it will be today even harder to differentiate some regions from others, and even some countries from each other, because I think the methods, when there is, let's say, when there is a Pinot Noir producer in Oregon or New Zealand, or Pfalz, they all have same idols nowadays. They all have same goals, or some of them have same goals that, okay, I really want to make wine like Armand Rousseau or whoever. I really want to make this. He's my icon. I want to make. So these all are looking the same idols, and now they have better knowledge that, okay, what are they doing in Burgundy? What are they doing in Pfalz? So the information is so much better available. So there is, I think, especially in the top wines, there starts to be more and more knowledge and information. So a lot of people are using same methods nowadays,
and probably the technology as well is
exactly. So they have same barrels are available, same fermentation vessels are available, maybe even same yeasts are available. So everything is getting better available. So at least in there, of course, meantime, everybody is trying to show typicity and want to have the wine showing their own microclimate or their own region's typicity. So in a way, I think wines are going quality, like as an overall quality, they are going to same direction. But of course, then the winemakers maybe have also more tools to make them more, have their own signature on them. So
of course,
I would say it's less easy to put the wine in an exact region than it used to be. So therefore, I think today it's probably even more relevant to have your argumentation correct, instead of just showing the right bottle.
Very interesting. I wanted to ask you, how do you go about the vintage of the wines? Because I think it's very different if the wine was aged in barrels for some period, or it was bottle aged. What is your process to discover the age of the wine?
Well, the aging in when I was going to the exam, I think the older vintages would only become relevant questions regarding the wines from regions that have the tradition or have different vintages in the marketplace. So that there would not be different vintages of Barossa Syrah, or that's not a likely question. I think it would be more related to vintage champagne, maybe port, vintage port, and then Burgundy and Bordeaux wines in particular. So therefore, I think it was more about, and that's why we had Bordeaux tasting seminars, or that's why we made a trip with my colleagues to Burgundy, so that I think when it comes to older vintages, it's about knowing them. It's about tasting them. It's not something you can calculate from the glass that, okay, this has this color, so it's like current vintage -7, and then maybe barrel. So I think then it's about the aroma style, because different vintages have very different qualities, and they evolve differently, some faster, some slower, and they have very unique characters. So I'm not very good at that, I have to admit, because there in our region in Finland or Sweden, there's no really market for older vintage wines, so I'm not exposed to them, or I wasn't exposed to them at all. So I think it will be fair to say that that was where I trusted my luck. So there is not 100% knowledge with nobody, and I think that was probably my weakness. Of course, I tasted, and I had always put a guess, and probably more educated guess than many other people, but still, compared to some of the people that maybe there were some students from UK market, for example, that are dealing with the older vintages, so they definitely had much higher knowledge. And one of my colleagues, Juha, not a master of wine, but he was also studying with us, and a very strong sommelier background. He's more like 100 times more knowledgeable about old vintages than I am. So he was always going to these tastings about older vintages, and he could tell that, okay, this is 96, because this is how the aroma is, and this is probably Chateau Latour or Mouton Rothschild because of these reasons. So there are people that are much more knowledgeable on that, but it wasn't my strongest case. But of course, when you go to the exam, you are really studying, so you know at least what are the last 10 good vintages from Bordeaux and Burgundy and something. And if the wine is a very good example, I think they are more likely to put a great vintage on the tasting than a bad vintage on the tasting. So normally the wines that you will have in the exam, they are not trying to make any tricks. It's already difficult enough as such, so that the wines that you would be faced are always best examples of what it could be. So in a way, there are no badly made wines or wines from
that would be quite difficult
mediocre producer or off vintages. So therefore, you should at least know what are the good producers, what are the great vintages, etc.
Interesting. I think that was a very fair point about the vintages, that it's not so technical, because there are so many factors that can affect the aging of the wine, but more lexical knowledge of knowing each region and even maybe winery of all of their vintages and their specificities.
Absolutely. And today I have no idea about different vintages that much, so because this information is on Google. I tell everybody that why should I ever learn what were the great. Of course, I remember some vintages because I had some great wines. So I remember, okay, that vintage was fantastic because I had this bottle recently. But anyway, I cannot list last if you would last 10 years and ask me which were the good vintages and where. Have no idea, because that information I can find in 10 seconds from Google. So it's why should anyone learn anything that is so easily available? So it's more about understanding than what does it mean, a good vintage, or what could I expect from a good vintage, instead of knowing what exactly is the vintage.
Yeah, exactly. You said that they are not trying to trick you. I already asked you this question the last time, but I would like you to explain it to our viewers again. That how wide is the range of wines that they can show you at the exam? Can they show you like very specific, very small wine regions, or is there like a list of wine regions that you have to know, or you are the one who have to decide, is this specific part something that I should know or no?
Yeah. Well, I think it could be whatever. I don't think they will go for very tiny or very rare wine styles. So the wines I think they need to be internationally available. So it needs to be something that people have access to. If it's a very tiny new region in somewhere Eastern Europe, or newly found area in Portugal where nobody really, there's one or two producers, that is not likely to come to the exam. But for sure they can be small regions, and you can, I think you can have wines from a very rare places as long as they are internationally available. So I think there is no specific rule. It can be tricky, but I would, as a general rule, I would say that there are the grapes normally in the exam, they are some of the known, some of that we all know, and some of that we all can buy and recognize, and the countries of origin as such. So, but I think there could be Lebanese wine in the exam for sure, and there can be wine from Austria, but I don't think there has been wine from Switzerland, because even they produce a lot of wine, they are not globally so well available, because Swiss people, they drink all the wines by themselves. Hungarian wines for sure. So they can be a lot of different things. Yeah.
What about the price of the wines? Can there be Romane Conti or some extreme bottles?
Yeah, I don't think there could be Romane Conti. I think all the wines are good. I think I could say that probably from €20 or $20 up to 100. So or 100, and well, of course there are vintage champagnes, and vintage port could be there, so it could be something really expensive. But there are, I haven't seen any super icon wines on the list, so you shouldn't expect anything worth hundreds and hundreds of euros in the exam. The exams and the tasting, the wines from previous tastings, your tasting, they are always, so you can go to Institute of Masters of Wine website, and you can have the past exams and past tastings, and all of this is published, and all the students, I think they spend all their time looking at the past exams and past tastings, because that gives you a lot of idea what is expected to come, and what style of questions there are, what style of tastings there are. So people, I think it's really important part of studying is to know what to expect.
Yeah, that's
anybody can go there,
helpful.
in my opinion. Yeah,
very helpful. Besides wine tastings, what do you think about? And we also discussed this previously about. Learning about these specific aromas, because a lot of people mistake, people who are not really into the wine world are kind of jokingly say that how can you recognize strawberry flavors when this wine is made out of grapes, so it can only taste grapes. But a thing that they don't understand is actually those aroma compounds that are sometimes in these fruits and spices are the same exact chemical compounds that are in the wine. So it is really a scientific thing to recognize. And a lot of people, what I've heard, are exercising for wine tasting and blind tasting by learning all the different spice notes and some very niche tropical aroma compounds that are probably available and can be felt in wine. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think in order to have the capacity of putting the aromas in the words, I think you really need to build your bank of information to your head. So therefore, I think you need to be, if you're not, you need to learn to be curious mind regards to food and whatever. So when you go shopping fruits, you smell them, you smell spices, you smell coffee, you smell cheeses, you smell places. When you go to forest, you smell different aromas. So you need to and like I said earlier, I think it's not a special talent. I think it's something I would, of course, if you have problem with your nose or something, it's not possible. But I think any normal people can and should be in a position to build the knowledge. So you just need to smell a lot of things and then try to build the memory or try to connect the wires that, okay, this aroma is red apple, this aroma is lychee, this is cinnamon. So and then when you smell it in your wine glass, then you can, okay, apple, yes, apple. And then you take your bank, okay, which wines have I tasted that had apple? Mosel, Riesling, apple. So
yeah, very, very beautiful. And I think for everybody, not just for the people who are preparing to become a master of wine, but for any person, it would be healthy and helpful to be more curious and more present in their lives and be more like a child, be curious about everything, smell the soil, smell the flowers, and try to be more in the moment, because I think this is it's quite cliche, everybody knows this, but it's always good to remind ourselves that we are living in this world when everybody is everything is so fast, and we are usually not really paying attention to the small details. But I think these are the things that make life beautiful, the small situations, the small smells, a beautiful view. We have to put more attention on these things. So not just the people who are trying to become a master of wine, but all of our viewers should smell the forest flora.
Absolutely. And I think even the wine education makes you really connected to the world and to the nature, because you cannot do it if you don't recognize different smells in the world, or you need to visit and understand the climates and regions. So it's not something you can sit back to your computer at home and just watch and learn. You really need to go there and you need to go and see the rocky soils in Châteauneuf-du-Pape or slate in Mosel, and then you can hit the stones and okay, what is the smell, and oh, it's warm, even it's night, the soil is warm here because of the sun heated the soil during the day, or this is how it's working. So you really need to connect yourself to a lot of things, which, like you said, I think it's really nice experience, and I think that's for me, that's more real life than just sitting and reading. You need to experience in order, then you can really understand what is in the bottle.
Of course. Wow, this is a very interesting and beautiful idea that getting into the culture of wine teaches you so many things. This with the aromas and paying attention to the details, but also it helps you to understand history, because learning about these wine regions and wineries, you learn a lot about history, you travel, you experience so many interesting things. So this complexity really helps to build a person's character, I think, which is a very beautiful thing about the science of wine. That's why we love it.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I would like to learn more about the Finnish wine market. It's very interesting. Yes. Can you tell us more about the wine state and how does it work? What does the Finnish wine market look like, and what are the trends?
Yeah, well, more than our company, I think it will be interesting to learn about the market. So of course, Wine State, our company is an importing company, so we import wine to Finnish market and also with another company to Swedish market. But so we work with restaurants and the monopoly. So it's a monopoly market where all wine and well, everything above 5.5% alcohol today is sold from shops that are government owned. But it's a one company. It's called Alko, and they have 350 stores across the country. So it's a very well distributed. Almost every village you live, there is an Alko shop, and the shops actually have really good selection of wine. I think in Alko they have around 7,000 wines in their selection. Not all of them are in one shop. So if you're in a smaller region, you might have a shop where is 500 to 1,000 wine, but still a lot and a good representative range. But then everything else, 6,000 or 6,500 that are not in that shop, you can order either from the shop or online, and then after a couple of days you can go to that shop and collect your bottles. So you have everybody in Finland have access to good amount of different wines wherever they live, and I think it's a quite young wine market. Like when I joined '96, there was very little wine knowledge. Wine was of course consumed, but the knowledge has been quite low, but it's of course developing nowadays. People travel a lot, people read a lot, there are a lot of magazines, a lot of stuff in internet, and like I said, people have maybe more capacity to travel. So I think the level of gastronomy has grown amazingly, and also the amount of wines that are in the market, the variety is very good. So it's
and also they have such master of wines like you.
Yeah, we have 5 master of wines, and that tells you a lot. I think so. There is a lot of interest and a lot of boom around wines, but we are 5.5 million people, and I think the consumption is somewhere 55 million liters of wine. So it's only 10 liters per capita, the wine consumption. So it's not very big wine consuming country. Wine is mostly consumed in the bigger cities here, and 90% of wine is consumed at home, and only 10% is consumed at the restaurants, maybe 12 today, developing slowly, but most of the wine is consumed at home. I think a lot of wine is enjoyed just as it is for like a casual drinking, but of course more and more people are also into cooking and choosing a perfect wine for their meal. And I think the COVID period gave us a really good boost regards to gastronomy, and people didn't go to restaurant or didn't travel, so they learned to cook better food at home, and also they following that they were also more keen to invest a little bit more to the wine, paying a little higher price for what they drink at home. That of course exposed them to much greater wines, which probably boosted a little bit more interest to wine. So I think the culture has now taken some nice steps forward regarding people's interest and also the qualities people are willing to buy. So it's important. And I'm always trying to motivate people to use a little bit less money, because I think the average price here has been around 10 euro a bottle, which in Finland, it's a quite entry-level wine still, because we have high tax. So it's quite entry-level wine you get with 10 euros. So and if you go to a really nice bar here in Helsinki, the gin and tonic might cost 12 or 15 euros. So I'm always telling to my friends, so when you buy a bottle of wine to your home, you pay 10 euros, but still you're willing to spend 1.5 times that amount of money for a cocktail. Or when you go to restaurant, people are willing to pay for the wine. So I'm always saying that you should spend 50% of what you're willing to spend in restaurant, because in Finland many restaurants, they have quite high margins on the wine, so they multiply with 3 or 4 or even 5 here. So the wines are quite expensive in restaurants. So I'm always saying to my friends that pay at least 50% that you would be willing to pay in restaurant. So then if people would pay 20 euro instead of 10 euro for their wine, the quality is so much more, because there are a lot of fixed costs. There is the bottle, there is the transportation, there is the alcohol tax, there is the label.
Of course.
So those are fixed. So then if you increase your price from 10 to even 15 euro, there is, like, after all the taxes and calculations, there is probably 3 euros more for the winemaker to use to the raw material. And if in 10 euro wine, the raw material cost 1 euro per kilo, and then you get 3 euro more budget, you get 4 times the money for the raw material. And actually you as a consumer only update 50%, but the quality update is 400%. And I think for me, I think that is for me pretty good deal. If you think so. So this is why I'm always saying that I think don't go for the entry level. Go put a little bit extra, pay. Think if you're going out, how much you would be willing to spend if you buy wine to home, and then you can have really wines that tell a story of some winemaker. They are some of the best examples of the regions you're drinking, though, so they are really talking to you instead of being. Because if you buy below 10 euro, I think every wine is same. They are well made, clean, but that's
nothing,
it. But then,
nothing special.
Exactly, but then if you're shopping around 20 euro or more, then you will start to have terroir, personalities behind, older vineyards, older wines, more details in the winemaking, and more care for the grapes and everything. So then you will have personality, and then you will understand much better.
Yeah, what would you say, what is the Finnish taste based on your gastronomy? What are the trends and wine styles that are more popular or easier to understand?
Yeah, well, historically there was a lot of medium sweet white wine drink here in end of 90s still. Then I think from that on the white wine style has gone drier and drier, and I would say that last 5 years the big trend has been Riesling, which is enormous boom. I think that is the most requested wine quality here. Overall wines, people want to drink Riesling, so that is very popular. People want to buy dry, but then they want to drink medium dry. I don't know if you, but so they always ask for dry because it maybe sounds a bit more healthy. But then when you give them, if I'm pouring wine for my friends, and if you give them a really good medium dry Riesling, I think they are all like, what is this? It works so well with the food and whatever. So this is what they want to drink. Anyway, dry Riesling. Then red wines, people in Finland are quite full-bodied style. So they are, I think it's easier to approach wines with the richer body and quite mellow and less austere. But I would say that last 5 years, even that is going to a little bit more lighter. So there is more interest to Pinot Noir, more interest to maybe natural wines, more interest towards cooler climate wines, or maybe more traditional wines. So people have started to appreciate also acidity and austerity in wine, so they don't need to all be rich and full and really big. But still a lot of quite full-bodied red wine is consumed here. But especially in the restaurants, they are drinking more, let's say, traditional or finer or elegant reds. Rosé wine is now booming, but it's still a couple of percent as a market share, but increasing every summer, and now we even get to sell some rosé wines over winter, but mostly rosé wine is a summer drink. And Prosecco is the biggest sparkling wine. It used to be Cava, but now it's Prosecco.
How did it change? What was that?
I think it's to do with the more fresher style. I think Cava is a bit more serious. You have a bit more this yeasty character, bottle fermented notes, and then Prosecco is more fruit forward, easy to appreciate, and I think it also became. There's a lot of beer consumption, and then also was a lot of cider consumption. So I think Prosecco has replaced some of that, especially amongst women. So when you go bar or nightclub, you might take a glass of sparkling, and I think Prosecco was working much better than Cava for that. So I think this is why Prosecco is maybe bigger.
I think this is the perfect time to talk about the pink Riesling, because you mentioned that Riesling goes very well in Finland, and rosé is growing. So can you tell us the story of the pink Riesling, which is your invention?
This was 2019 or 2018. I was actually in Pfalz with the winery. I will explain or introduce him soon. But anyway, well, it was Axel Nice in Pfalz, and I was visiting him because we are selling some of his wines, and we had a tasting in the morning at his winery or at home estate, and we were tasting some red wines, some of his fantastic Pinot Noirs, and then we were finishing the tasting, and I was focusing on my phone as typical, reading some of my emails, and then somebody started already pour some Riesling for the lunch. But my glass had some Pinot Noir in it, and they poured this Riesling over my drop of Pinot Noir. And this has probably happened to many people earlier as well, so I'm not a unique in that. But then I didn't focus, and then I said, no, rosé wine. And then I tasted the wine, and I said, this is fantastic. What did you pour to me? And then I looked, everybody else had white wine in their glasses, and I was like, okay, was it for me only?
It's a special blind tasting for the
exactly
wine.
Yeah. and then and I think that has happened to many people. But anyway, then I tasted the wine, and then my brain just said like click. Wow, it's beautiful taste. It's fantastic aroma. It has both great aromas. It has some red fruit character and a nice Riesling aroma. So I was immediately start thinking that how can we commercialize this product? And then the idea, well, then we discussed with Axel about the possibility, and we started, and then I went home and we chat and sent email, and we started to investigate the possibility. And of course it's illegal in Europe to blend make rosé wine from white grapes. So rosé wine needs to be made from red grapes only. Only champagne is the exception, where they can make rosé champagne from white grapes and then add a little bit Pinot Noir to make the color. But in any other rosé, it's forbidden. But then we were obsessed that we need to be able to commercialize this product, and we were making samples and tasting how it could be, and then but we felt that okay, we need to do something. So then Axel came up with an idea. I think I have a bottle here. I have even Magnum here. Wow. So this is the product. So then we decided that okay, let's add a little bit water. Well, in theory we didn't add in real life we didn't add any water, but we actually labeled it. It says here that it has. So there is Riesling 97%, Pinot Noir 2.99%, water 0.01%. So we added water, which is illegal. So adding water to wine, you actually declassify. It's not anymore wine. You cannot sell it as wine. So now it's wine-based drink. And there is no legislation regarding wine-based drinks. So then we bottle it and label it as a pink Riesling. And bring it to market as a wine-based drink. Of course, we tell everybody like this that, okay, there's no water, but in the label we say, yeah, absolutely there is water. So we can sell it as wine-based drinks. But it makes a fantastic rosé. Because there are a lot of gastronomy. It's so gastronomic. Riesling has such a beautiful minerality, acidity, texture, and then when you add some good Pinot Noir to it, you have some red fruit characters over it. So hey, you have beautiful color, you have really nice aromas, and even better, it ages, so you can keep it, because any other rosé is so and so. I think rosé is something you would want to buy the freshest vintage. Pink Riesling you can even keep if you want. It gets better. So and of course it was a good case for the market, because Riesling is the biggest selling grape, and rosé wine started to boom. So with this idea, we married the two biggest trends in the market, and the rest was history. When we bring it to the market in May 2019, we were in all the magazines, all the TV shows, all the media,
Yeah.
and it was like we bought truckloads of the wine to the market, and it became a really big fashion here, and we still sell. I think we have 4 different products now, pink Riesling, in the market. So we do with a couple of different producers we produce, and also we bring one from Chile, from Miguel Torres Winery in Chile, because they could from New World you can actually blend red and white grapes, and you can call it rosé wine. The legislation is different. I know actually we have Sauvignon Blanc rosé also from Mudhouse from New Zealand, and then we have pink Riesling or Riesling rosé we call it from Miguel Torres Winery from Chile. So it's doable. And I know some markets are tested. I think there is some business in Sweden, Denmark, and Germany, but I think people should go and try. It could be a phenomenon. They are fantastic products, and
Well, congratulations for your invention. I think it's fascinating in 3 ways: the technicality, the wine itself, the combination, the legal tricks and loopholes that you applied to create this, and also the economic success of it, the logic behind it, that these are two booming segments. So it's such a fascinating story, and I think it's a little bit of like critique to the EU legislation that it doesn't allow for such creativity. In the previous podcast, I was talking to Ben Champagne, and we were talking about champagne and the legislations. And I think there is this confusion in the EU legislation that it tries to protect the origins, which is very correct, and I do agree with that. But while doing that, it excludes such a palette of creativity and ideas. I think what should be, and I'm sure that we can do this and change in the positive direction. The point should be to protect for the specific designations of origins, like Champagne and other wine regions. There, it is logical to protect the style of the wine region and have these strict rules, but allow for other regions who are not using specific origin names to do almost whatever, obviously in the rules of the like normal rules, but not to over-regulate it, because it limits such creativity. Lots of new grape varieties in most of the EU countries. You cannot plant a grape variety which was even indigenous in that country, an old grape variety, but it was disappeared, so it didn't get into the EU legislation, and now you cannot plant it. For example, we have a similar situation in Hungary, and in the historical parts of Hungary, there is this grape variety called Bakator. And it disappeared. There was no Bakator made in the last like 200 years. But it was a very famous Hungarian grape variety. Even the Russian Tsar was ordering the Bakator because everybody loved it in Europe. And it disappeared for some reasons, I think even before the phylloxera. And there is a group founded that the goal was to find the Bakator, because there were legends that maybe in southern Hungary somewhere there is one more grapevine, and they were working for years. They have found the Bakator, and they started replanting it in experimental plots, but it is still not in the EU legislation, so legally you cannot create any Bakator vines. There are some vineyards already, and there are wines made, but it cannot go into the market because it's not allowed, and the process is very long and difficult to get these grape varieties into the system. So this is just about grape varieties, but there are so many regulations that limit the creativity of winemaking.
Absolutely, and I think this is a very common story in many regions. I know some in Benedès, and I know some from Portugal, and I think it's, of course, the ideology behind all the wine legislation is to protect and enhance the quality of every wine region's production. But like you said, a lot of this legislation is just blocking opportunities to develop and opportunities to go for trends. And I think it's about grape varieties, it's about methods used, but it's also about packaging formats. I think it's today in the modern world, it's like the Nordic markets, the monopolies are all about environmental friendly, and they want to boost the availability of alternative packaging formats, because and this is exactly the same as when the screw cap arrived. A lot of regions said that no screw cap in our region. It's not. It needs to be natural cork, and then the markets are going for screw caps. The monopoly are looking, okay, we want to have more screw cap because we have less consumers returning the wine, and we have older people that the screw cap is so much easier to open without any special tools. So we want to boost screw cap, and then the regions. Some countries said that, okay, no screw cap from our region allowed in our DOC or whatever wines, but this then blocks. Okay, well then the monopolies. Okay, we shop something else. Then do these regions think that the monopoly is like, okay, well, okay, then our idea is bad. Let's go back to cork. They will go with their ideas, and they will go for alternative regions or origins of the wine. And now the same is happening with packaging. The monopolies want to cut the carbon footprint, and they say that, okay, of course glass bottle will be still a big issue in future as well. There will be a lot of glass bottles, but we also want to have wine in PET. We want to have wine in bag box. We want to have wine in tetra. We want to have wine in pouch, which is the bag inside the bag box, and we want to have the wine in can, and there is even this paper bottle, frugal bottle now available. So we want to try all of these, and they put tenders, and they want to bring products to the market. And if your region is only allowing you to put wine in a glass bottle, you will not participate in any of these opportunities. And then if you think that the monopoly is, let's say they have already 7,000 wines, so they are not searching anymore. They don't need another Soave in glass bottle, but they might be interested in testing a new packaging format. So if you're a producer of Soave, for example, and you're not in the market yet, and you're there with your glass bottles hoping the opportunity to open, it won't open. But if you would be able to put it in a paper bottle or pouch or tetra, and you would have investment or willing to do that, you would be open-minded producer, you could do that, and definitely the monopolies would be interested in your product. So by, in a way, controlling the quality of their regions, a lot of these wine legislation, they are completely stopping new opportunities to arrive, because this is, and I know the more monopolies are in forefront of this, testing these new packaging formats, and maybe some traditional countries are looking that, okay, are you crazy? But same happened with bag-in-box. Same happened with screw cap, same will happen with tetra PET, same will happen. So the monopolies are just test markets for the world. Where is it going? And if you are producing wine under one of these DOs or whatever appellations that completely ban every trial or every innovation, you're in the wrong train. That is,
of course.
Because then the market will be full. Same happened with bag-in-box. Well, also, I think the problem occurred when some producers said, okay, bag-in-box is not to me, not my wine style, our brand is not suited for bag-in-box. When it started increasing in something early 2000 in the Nordics, then 10 years later, when the bag-in-box is 45% of the complete Nordic market, so Finland, Sweden and Norway combined, 45% wine or whatever, 40 to 50% wine is in bag-in-box. Then 10 years later, you maybe as a producer start to think, maybe it is for our brand as well. Maybe we should go in. But the market is already built. So then you're there, okay, well, there is already more than 1,000 different bag-in-boxes in the market. And then you're like, okay, I'm here now. I have my bag-in-box. But the opportunity went. Of course, you may still enter and you can do it. But it would be so much more beneficial, so much more easy and so much more better for the producers and for the regions if they could be a little bit more flexible or enter the market when the change is actually happening, not joining when everybody else made the change to happen, and then you're starting to look at, okay, well, we are still here with our glass bottles. So
yeah, that's why the New World wine regions have conquered all these new trends and all the changes in the market. The new wine regions and the New World is always winning this race, because legislation almost in all of the New World countries are very loose, so the winemakers are allowed to play. I think the goal here, the focus and the logic behind all these legislations in the EU should be protecting the specific regions, because I do understand that for some names you want to preserve a similar image or a style. It's okay, but do not limit the winemakers from that region or other regions that are not trying to be in the forefront of that name. So if you are not trying to use a specific style name, then you should be allowed to have more flexibility, because the problem, in my opinion, is that in some cases, even if you are not applying for a specific style or a protected origin, you still are like limited by these regulations.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I think at the end we should. I prepared a small game for you, an interesting situation, a ranking, a tier list ranking of some popular wines based on the price value ratio of these wines. I selected only widely available popular wines that all of our viewers can find in stores. I've selected some very expensive, some mid-range, and some cheaper ones, and I would like you to rank these wines on this list based on the price quality ratio, not just the technical quality of the wine, but also the whole experience, because in some cases some wine is the rarity or the name of the wine also gives into the experience. So let's take this into account as well. I will share my screen.
Now it's uploading something. Yes, now I see your screen.
Okay, so here you can see it. Can you see it? Like this?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, I will grab the bottles from here and you can talk about them, maybe reason your argument. So let's start with the Purple Angel from the Montes Winery. And I also put the price of all these wines. So,
but if I don't know the others, like how can I position this? Should you first drop me the list of what do you have there?
Should I show you all the other ones?
Yeah, others. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we'll have Vega Sicilia, we'll have Lynchbach, we'll have Pink Riesling, we'll have Solaya, Cloudy Bay, Sauvignon Blanc, Hungarian Tokayasu, we'll have some champagnes, Dom Perignon, we'll have some Spanish wines, Tondonia, Moët Chandon, we'll have some Torres, Malaplana, and Mouton Rothschild.
Okay.
So these are going to be the ones.
Yeah, let's take something. What did you have from Bordeaux there?
From Bordeaux we have Lynchbach and Mouton.
Okay. Well, let's put Vega Sicilia on top.
Vega Sicilia on top as tier.
Yes. Yeah.
So we would say that for this price, this wine offers great value.
Yes, well value, but interesting. I'm combining the story and everything. So then we can put, I think, Lynchbach should go maybe somewhere. So to A, B somewhere there. Yeah. Then I think Tondonia could go next to that. A bit below, maybe.
Maybe below?
Maybe below. Then you can put Tokai quite in top, so between the Vega Sicilia and Lynchbach somewhere in the line. So it could be somewhere there. I can give you a brief explanations later, but let's just for the game put them first in place. Then you can put Maslaplana somewhere in the middle, and then the Purple Angel could go a bit below the Maslaplana then. Then I think nothing against, but you can put maybe Merchandern on the D.
Somewhere
okay. There.
Feel free to rank them as you wish. It's not we are not saying that it's low or high quality.
Was it like based on like quality? What were the measures? Because if I'm like, what is interesting to taste or drink, or what is the price quality ratio?
What like the experience to price ratio? What would
experience
be
to price
more worth to try or taste?
Okay, yeah. Well, then we may need to. Well, then you can put Merchandern a bit higher up, because then of course if we are looking for price for the experience, I think the Vega Sicilia we need to move down from the top range a little bit lower. So we can put it maybe further down. I think then on top like probably goes, and then Dom Perignon could be maybe below the Merchandern then, but this is really hard. I think it may be a little unfair. I think so much effort. I will explain. Well, let's put them somewhere first. Then you can put Solaya was there. Is that correct? So then maybe somewhere in C. Pink Riesling you can put somewhere in B, just because it's so cheap.
Okay.
Then there was Cloudy Bay. It can be on an A because it's quite valuable for the quality. What is the last bottle there, the most expensive?
Mouton.
Okay, well then you can put it next to Dom Perignon then maybe. But it's
okay.
I think it's really hard to judge based on price quality. Because I think at some moments Coca-Cola would drink better than any of these products in my opinion. So if you just think about the physical quality, it's hard. Because I think wine is about story, the rarity, how much effort went to its making, how widely it's available, what is the purpose of the situation. So I think
of course. I would like you to think about all of these reasons and just combine it in a ranking in your opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably more or less what I'm thinking, and I will explain. If you go, some people may say that Dom Perignon is really expensive bottle, but if you think that it is one of the best champagnes in the world, so much effort and technology and knowledge and understanding goes into making it, and it's such a great story, and how is it built, and all the luxury that you get attached to it is so important. And then if you go to your friend's 50 years anniversary party and you have options to take him nice gift voucher for a Benzi jump or I don't know, gift card for a restaurant, or if you take him a bottle of Dom Perignon and then you open it together, you share it, the whole night will be different. It's like it rises all the standards of drinking something special together, a luxury product. So it's more than just the liquid in the bottle always. And then same applies for Vega Sicilia, one of the most difficult wines to get. Something that if you read, and I have no time, but the family story, how they built the whole reputation of Ribera del Duero, and how they said that the best vintage is not yet made, so they are working every little detail harder and harder to make the next vintage better than any of the previous vintages, and the wines are auctioned at silly price. People queue them for their life. So then if you know the background, then €350 suddenly is a good dinner. It's a price of a good dinner, and you get piece of history, piece of dedication that doesn't exist in many industries. How much effort goes into making some of these products. So then it's how to value all of that. And then still I'm saying that Coca-Cola might be better for the pizza than any of these products, for example. It's like, so it's not about the physical quality. It's about the whole experience, and with whom you drink, with when you drink, and whatever. So it's difficult to judge. But so therefore, I think, I hope I'm not judged by the audience how I position the products.
It's perfect. I think it's quite subjective, and the experiences, as you mentioned, are playing a very, very important role here.
Absolutely, and all the products you brought into the table have a very good reason to exist and be popular and be enjoyed. I think there's no bad examples, so it would be, in a way, I think all of them could be on top.
Yeah, perfect. This is the most beautiful.
Was it most political answer?
Yes, very politically correct answer. Perfect. I think this was very eye-opening and interesting game. Okay, Tuomas, thank you for doing this again.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
It was the same for me. I learned a lot from you, and hope to continue this maybe in Finland or somewhere in your life.
Absolutely. And I will invite you. Let's one day we both buy one or two same bottles and we have a tasting and discussion.
Okay, and do this
over some wines. Exactly. So that could be as well. So it was really pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Have a good day and see you soon.
Thank you.
Where can our followers find you? Where should they follow you?
Well, I'm best reached from my Instagram account, so that is where I'm mostly active. Okay. So Tuomas MW is my Instagram account. So would be really happy to have even more. But I have nice followers all over the world, but there's always space for more, and I'm happy to chat over there as well. So thank you, and hope to see you soon. Take care.
Hope to see you soon. Take care. Yes. Have a good day.